Khamzat Chimaev just shared a video of him and Jon Jones playing around in the streets of Chechnya, doing a little bit of light sparring, where we see Khamzat Chimaev actually take down Jon Jones. That's been going viral on Twitter, with Jon Jones going to Chechnya, hanging out with Khamzat Chimaev, also hanging out with a Russian dictator, and on Twitter, seemingly confirming that he accepted a grappling match with DC. That's some pretty big news. But him and Khamzat Chimaev, they were in Chechnya. It seems like to me maybe Jon Jones is, hanging out in Chechnya, maybe because of this Alex Pereira fight that potentially is rumored coming up, to focus on the grappling for that fight, but we'll get into that later. He was hanging out with Khamzat Chimaev, and this is a big moment. These are very two high-level fighters, and there's actually now a video of them kind of having a little bit of a light spar. We saw a similar thing Jon Jones do with Adesanya, and here we see, I guess, as close as we're going to get to Jon Jones, how he would deal with that, Dagestani, Chechnyan, Russian-type fighter, heavy grappling, where, you just get held down and you can't move after that. I was going to say the grip is insane, but that definitely seems a little paused. So here's the video, guys, and I'm just going to let it play, and then we're going to break it down a little bit, just because I think there's some interesting parts for sure. Like a little head kick from Khamzat. Khamzat gets literally around the body, and Jon Jones, is trying his best to defend, and it just shows how strong Khamzat is. I mean, look, Khamzat, boom, takes him down, and Khamzat's friends laugh, and Jon Jones mocked, and then runs away. So guys, let's actually take a look at this. So first of all, this is the first thing I noticed. I mean, that this is a Jon Jones fight when, look, we got the little extenders, the little defender extenders here, you know what I'm saying? To right at eye length of Khamzat Chimaev, so he can't go forward. And this is Khamzat Chimaev, look, feinting style, heavy pressure, trying to, very fast, going in and out of range. Head kick, and now look, boom, because of that, Jon Jones initiates the clinch, but you don't want to do that against Khamzat. Locks up his hands, and now this is kind of the beginning of the end, because now, look, they're moving around. Jon Jones does a little bit, and look, in all fairness, Jon Jones is in these loafers, you know what I'm saying, defending this takedown. Like, boom, taken to the ground, picked up, and tossed down. And yeah, Jon Jones runs after that, because, I mean, I think this about Jon Jones. I said this on my stream. We don't really know how good Jon Jones is. And what I mean is, yeah, I do consider him one of the greatest of all time for sure. But we don't know how good he is, because he fought Stipe, he fought Cyril Gane, and that's really it for the past, 5 years? That's really all the fights that he's had over the past 5 years at this point. And those matchups also just tend to be good matchups for him. Cyril Gane obviously couldn't grapple at the time. He's a little bit better now. Stipe, extremely old for fighting, at least when he fought Jon Jones. So, I mean, those two matchups could have just been tailored matchups, good matchups for Jon Jones. It might not have been, actually, to show how good he is. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Khamzat Chimaev could beat him, even though there is a huge weight discrepancy there, because I just think that Jon Jones could be washed for all we know. I mean, who knows? Maybe Alex Pereira could even beat Jon Jones. It is a good matchup for Jon Jones. As I said, I think that, there's videos of him kind of joking that he's getting an apartment in Chechnya. I don't know if it was a joke. I don't know if it's serious. I think it's unbelievable. That's why I'm saying it's a joke, but it was posted to be real, it seems like. And if that's the case, I would not be shocked. I don't think maybe he's buying an apartment. Maybe he's staying there a few months, maybe a month, and maybe he's training there for an extended period of time. But I think this has to do with the fact that Jon Jones being, knowing who he is as a fighter, someone that likes to study the game, probably is like, look, this Dagestan style, this, Russian style, I know that obviously Khamzat isn't from Dagestan, but, I'm trying to say that kind of style for his fight, especially against a guy who he's going to need to grapple heavy to win. I mean, if it's on the feet, I think Pereira is going to win. And I do want to talk about these two hanging out with Ramzan Kadyrov. Obviously, I've told you guys, an evil Russian dictator, but I'm about to talk about it. But damn, this takedown, guys. Wow. Jon Jones, I mean, like, he didn't go all the way down, but that's because Khamzat is carrying him. I mean, Khamzat could have, literally went forward with him, dropped him down. Khamzat kind of saved him there, a little embarrassment. But we also have this video of Jon Jones training with Ramzan Kadyrov, guys. Russian dictator of Chechnya, guys, I've talked about him in multiple videos with the Khamzat situation. For those of you guys that might not know, he's a dictator, kind of connected, well, not kind of, pretty connected with a lot of MMA fighters, flying them in for his son's birthday, also having strong connections to Khamzat Chimaev that, like I said, I've talked about a lot before because that is probably the most prominent fighter that he's been connected to, Khamzat, especially now he's a champion. But essentially, Ramzan has done pretty terrible things. I mean, you know, has been accused of killing journalists before, torturing people because they were gay. Pretty bad dude to be around. And we just see Jon Jones, you know, kind of hanging out with him. I've said before, look, Khamzat Chimaev, it's been pointed out, we don't know his situation. Maybe his situation is that, look, he's got family at home. Maybe, you know, if he's asked to do this, he's not really in a position to say no. And to be fair, also, you know, he's grown up in Chechnya where, you know, you're kind of taught, hey, you got to kind of respect this dude. So it's kind of just part of his culture as well. But for a guy like Jon Jones to come over from America, a totally different place, to voluntarily come here, probably paid, to be honest, to come here, as we'll get to later, because he does reveal he's here for his son's birthday, apparently Ramzan's son's birthday, makes it seem like it was paid. It was a little more than just, you know, just a little, oh, let's come over. But look, so yeah, we see him, you know, do a little shoulder strikes, just joking around with him. And obviously he's happy as a clam. Like I said, like, you know, him as a dad, dad, because this guy, he's getting UFC fighters like birthday clowns. You know what I'm saying? Like little like mascots to have in the back. So I don't know how he does it, but probably with all the money of all the blood money, probably. Yeah, and oh yeah, here we got Jon Jones shooting a bazooka. And I mean, look, this I'll say, this is cool, you know? I mean, this I'll say is fucking cool. I wouldn't have minded shooting an RPG, but you know, I don't know about the circumstances of who I'm shooting it with. That would be a little uncomfortable. Can someone tell me what the president did? And yeah, like I just said, I mean, this is a perfect response like his brutal and repressive rules in Chechnya, which include a record of gross human rights violations such as torture, extrajudicial killings, blah, blah, blah. I've done tons of videos about this, talking about laying out all the things that this guy has done. You guys can check it out on the channel. It's about Ramzan and Khamzat and just his ties to MMA. Not very little respect for fighters that, you know, aren't even from that region that are talking to this dude. It's worse enough when you're from the region, especially for a guy like Jon Jones, who is like, you know, you're supposed to represent these American values and this and that, to be hanging out with, like, you know, a dictator that, like we've talked about before, guys, that I've listed the bad things he's done and don't represent, you know, quote unquote American values or the Jon Jones values that he's, you know, kind of appeared to represent, even though his whole career he's done the opposite. So I mean, once again, that's Jon Jones for you, being an absolute hypocrite. And Jon Jones kind of responds to all the things that I'm kind of saying in this little Twitter post, because he says, I don't know anything, I don't see anything, all I know is the man's a great host, referring to, like I said, the many, you know, claims about him, you know, the fact that he is this dictator, you know, kind of saying, look, I don't know anything, I just came here, you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't really apply, because I don't know anything, I don't see anything, it means literally, hey, I know this, I don't care, because the guy's a great host. Here we see Jon Jones and Kadyrov, they're doing some sort of video, so maybe we'll get longer form content from this. Can't wait for the Kadyrov YouTube channel video with Jon Jones to be a part of this. And yeah, here, look, we see him getting, you know, followed by police, Jon Jones, as they're going to hang out with the president, because, you know, obviously he's the president, high security, all this and that. So Jon Jones clarifies even more in this post when someone asks, how was Chechnya? He says, it was awesome. I was invited by the president, Kadyrov. I spent a day celebrating his son's 18th birthday, got to shoot exotic weapons. My favorite was the RPG. Was never served so much food, ate like a king. And yeah, obviously that's what's going to happen, like I said, when you got the blood money, basically infinite money hack by doing, you know, multiple human rights violations and committing war crimes. Yeah, it's easy to stack your bread up like that. But yeah, Jon Jones even says here that he spent the day celebrating his son's 18th birthday. Like I said, this is what other fighters have said before, right? That they've been invited there for a little birthday party, they get paid some money, blah, 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 the list goes on. And I mean, it's a tough situation. I understand some fighters probably need the money. Jon Jones doesn't need the money. I mean, if Jon Jones is really that desperate for money, he could have accepted $30 million to fight Tom Aspinall. You know what I mean? Because, you know, according to Jon, that's an easy fight. You know, Jon has said multiple times it's an easy fight. It's just not worth it for him. So I don't know. To me, if it's such an easy fight and you're willing to whore yourself out to some dictator, you would think, yo, why don't you go fight Tom Aspinall for $30 million? But maybe that's just me. We also have Jon Jones saying Khamzat is a real, you know what, for sure. People saying, oh, the N-bomb, real cool Jon, which is obviously reference to this press conference where Jon was, you know, kind of scolding DC for saying the N-bomb. We also got Jon Jones and Khamzat. Look, like I said, I mean, I think they are training together for this Alex Pereira fight. I think that there is, like I said, a little alternate meaning, because like someone did ask about Jon Jones and Pereira, and Jon Jones did respond and said, it's a little bit out of my hands. I'm getting in shape. I'm lean and completely capable of hopping into a training camp. I guess time will tell. Either way, life is good. And what I'm curious about, and what I hope someone eventually gets to ask Jon Jones, is, hey, if it's not the White House, are you still willing to fight Pereira? Is he going to fight Pereira 1,000%? Like, is he willing to fight Pereira, you know, in May? Is he willing to fight him, you know, maybe later, next MSG card? I don't care when it is. Is he willing to fight him at any point? Or is it only a White House card thing? Because if it's the White House card thing, then maybe he doesn't even fight Pereira. Maybe he doesn't care. I think he's willing to fight Pereira no matter what. I think the truth is that, look, the guy unretired from fighting when he retired few days later, not because of the White House card, but because the guy didn't want to retire. He just didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. He wanted more hand-picked matchups so he can keep winning. He doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall, but he definitely still wants to fight. So I guarantee you he's still going to fight Pereira. Maybe he won't say that. Maybe he's not going to say, oh, I'll fight another time, because obviously he prefers to fight at the White House. He doesn't want to give up, you know, doesn't want to give up the cards and say, no, actually I'm good. I'll fight anytime. You know, he wants to force the UFC to get him on the White House card. But will he ever fight Pereira, even if it's outside the White House card? It could be a co-main event. Who knows? They could even say, fuck it, John, fine, you're the main event. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, because it is a pretty good main event. But we'll see if that fight ever happens. But the last thing I want to talk about is, apparently Jon Jones just said that he accepted a grappling match with DC. He says, I was approached the other day about grappling DC for charity. I said, absolutely. Let's see what comes of it. 3-0. Obviously, they had a terrible rivalry back in the day. Don't think that this is realistic, just because DC's back issues, and I think just a bunch of issues he's had throughout his career. He's probably not going to be down for this. I mean, there's an intense rivalry here. This isn't some, oh, let's just do for fun. Because I think Jon Jones will probably troll DC if Jon Jones wins. I mean, I think on Twitter we're going to see it, and DC probably wouldn't win it just because Jon Jones is the more active fighter right now. But who knows? Maybe DC will agree. I really doubt that he's going to agree. I mean, obviously he loves wrestling as well, but it just doesn't seem likely at this point. He doesn't seem to be in the shape that he once was. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys think that Jon Jones is in the wrong for hanging out with this dictator? Do you think that, you know, him hanging out with Khamzat Chimaev, training with Khamzat Chimaev is going to be beneficial? Let me know what you guys think. Check out my last video where I talked about Conor McGregor apparently being healed back to being a motivated fighter because he took some sort of drug. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.